Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. So this is an impromptu video. Oh, let me shut this door behind me, my dogs. I'll do a more polished video just on this subject, just a non-live video here today or tomorrow, but this is exactly what I'm going to be talking about, my friend Let's Be Frank show tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern, which is the coup against Trump, which is the biggest political scandal in the history of the country that was led by Hillary Clinton, Obama, the FBI under James Comey, and is still going on to this day. And tonight I'll be talking about why that's the biggest story in the country, and all of the other stories, whether it be COVID, whether it be Black Lives Matter and the riots, whether it be, all the other stuff that we hear, how the implications of the coup and all of these institutions that were involved in it are staggering and show that we can't trust these people on any of these issues. But I want to talk about the bombshell that just came out, that I'm just reading now, that it's absolutely mind-blowing. And so I'm thinking through all the implications of this live with you right now, and we'll see what my thoughts are on it. But there is a letter sent from Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe to Lindsey Graham, which has been declassified and released for public consumption, which the claims that it makes are staggering. It's even worse than any of us thought, and it puts into context everything that we've thought about this coup, except it's 10 times worse than we initially thought. So I'm going to get right to it, and I'm going to read that letter in its entirety to you, and then I'm going to discuss what I think that means. So brace yourself. So this is coming from Sean Davis's Twitter account. I'm going to move my face just because... yeah, so you can see everything. You should still be able to hear me though. So I'll read here. To the Honorable Lindsey Graham, it's dated September 29th, 2020. That's today. It's unclassified. Chairman Graham, and again, this is from John Ratcliffe. In response to your request for intelligence community information related to the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation, I've declassified the following. In late July 2016, U.S. intel agencies obtained insight into Russian intelligence analysis, alleging that U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton had approved a campaign plan to stir up a scandal against U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump by tying him to Putin and the Russians' hacking of the DNC. The intelligence community does not know the accuracy of this allegation or the extent to which Russian intelligence analysts may reflect exaggeration or fabrication. According to his handwritten notes, former CIA Director Brennan subsequently briefed Obama and other senior national security officials on the intelligence, including the alleged approval by Hillary Clinton on July 26, 2016, of a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by Russian security services. According to his handwritten notes, former CIA Director Brennan subsequently briefed... Oh, sorry, that's what I just read. On September 7, 2016, U.S. intelligence officials forwarded an investigative referral to FBI Director James Comey and Deputy Assistant Director of Counterintelligence Peter Strzok regarding U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's approval of a plan concerning U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections as a means of distracting the public from her use of a private mail server. As referenced in his September 24th letter to your committee, Attorney General Barr has advised that the disclosure of this information will not interfere with the ongoing Department of Justice investigation. Additionally, declassification and public disclosure of related intelligence remains under consideration. However, the intelligence community welcomes the opportunity to provide a classified briefing with further detail at your convenience. Now, let's go through this line by line. This is stunning. So let's go through this first paragraph. So late July 2016, our intel agencies received information that Russia was claiming that they had evidence, or they had seen, that Hillary Clinton was going to smear Donald Trump as colluding with the Russians to hack the DNC server. Now, this says that they don't know if this is true. I'll read the exact sentence. The IC does not know the accuracy of this allegation or to the extent to which Russian intelligence may reflect exaggeration or fabrication. So in other words, they don't know if Russia knew this to be the case or if Russia was just saying that. But I'll show that this isn't true. What the FBI knew was there were at least Russian sources that were claiming Hillary Clinton's going to smear Trump as colluding with Russia. right? Now, this is devastating because, and I'll bring my face back here. So think of what the implications of this are. So in late July, our intelligence services, such as the CIA and the FBI, knew they'd intercepted information that Russia said, Hillary's team plans on smearing Trump as colluding with Russians. Now, we now know that there was no illegal colluding with Russians. We know that. The Mueller report definitively showed that. We know that the allegations in the Steele dossier that was paid for by Hillary Clinton was manufactured, that it wasn't true. So let's talk about that. Now, the devil's advocate here will be saying, but the IC says that he's not sure the validity of Russia's claims. But they knew that Russia was claiming this. That's the important part. So think about it this way. You're the FBI or you're the CIA, and you see that there's these investigations going on against Hillary Clinton, and there will soon be investigations against Donald Trump. And there's accusations that Russia is hacking the election. Let's say that's true, that it was Russia that hacked these emails. Now, you don't know if they did that because they're harming Hillary Clinton or if they did it because they're working with Donald Trump. You do know, though, that the Russians are claiming, at the same time that you're the CIA and you think that they hacked the DNC, the Russians are claiming in private, in information that's being intercepted by the FBI and the CIA, Hillary Clinton's going to smear Trump as him being at fault for this. So you know that there is a chance that if you buy Hillary Clinton's claims, you're actually engaged in a false narrative to harm a presidential candidate on the behest of another presidential candidate. In other words, your interest would be heightened, and it would be something that you would take into account before launching an investigation and spying on a presidential campaign. Now, Maida on Twitch wants to know, why is this devastating? Every politician lies, even Trump. Yes, I won't deny that. But what's important is not that the politicians lie. What's important is that the FBI knowingly went along with Hillary Clinton's plan to falsely smear Trump as colluding with Russia, which led to a 4-year investigation. Obama knew, Comey knew, Biden knew, Brennan knew. All of the higher-ups that were responsible with starting the investigation into Trump knew that this was just a plan concocted by Hillary Clinton. In other words, Obama, the DNC, and Hillary Clinton weaponized the FBI to be their own personal spy and attack dog to go after the other candidate for president. Something that continues to this day. That is a coup. The investigation into Trump that was started as a plan concocted by Hillary Clinton to help her in the election and afterwards to hamper Donald Trump continues to this day. The media has all gone along with it saying, oh yes, Trump possibly colluded with Russia. To this day we're hearing, did Trump, was his tax returns, is the loan he took out, is that from Russia? They're still smearing Trump, which is this plan that was concocted by Hillary Clinton. That's why this is such a big deal. This isn't an example of, Trump says that Hillary's in bed with China and Hillary says Trump's in bed with Russia. That's one thing. It's another thing to then use the FBI to use, and let's talk about everything that happened. So this was late July. That's what this says. That's when the FBI became aware in late July that Russia was claiming that Hillary Clinton concocted a plan to smear Trump as being connected to Russia. Again, they took it seriously enough that the next paragraph says that Brennan actually directly briefed Obama and Comey on this. So this was clearly something that they thought was important enough to address the sitting president of the United States. It also goes on to say that Hillary concocted this plan to distract from her email server, because remember, she was under investigation. Now, what else occurred in late July? Well, let me show you. Remember, this says in late July 2016. Here's the timeline of the Steele dossier. This is according to the Washington Post. So this isn't some, right, like Fox News or OAN, just so I can't be accused of that. Look what it says here. Steele meets with FBI agents in London, early July. In mid to late July. Carter Page alleges Trump advisor, or Christopher Steele alleges Trump advisor Carter Page met with Russian officials. Then July 26, talks about large Russia hacking operation. Now keep in mind, we still don't have proof that Russia was the people that hacked the DNC. Remember, the FBI never looked at the physical server. They just took the line and the word of CrowdStrike, which was a firm that was being paid for by the DNC and Hillary Clinton. But even if it was Russia that hacked, notice at the exact same time that Russia is hearing, Hillary's going to concoct a story that Trump's connected to Russia, Hillary at that time is paying Fusion GPS, which is paying a British spy, Christopher Steele. At that exact time, Christopher Steele starts telling the FBI, Carter Page is working with the Russians. So the FBI is getting information that says Hillary Clinton's going to try to smear Trump as working with Russians. And the agent she's paying right at that time says, Carter Page is working with Russians. We now know that's not true. So the argument, which you'll hear the Democrats say, this is just Russia disinformation. Two things. One, even if it was Russia disinformation, remember, Brennan took it seriously enough to address Obama. So they had to think that there was a possibility of credibility behind what they were saying. And second, it doesn't appear to be disinformation because what they alleged was actually true. The FBI ended up taking unverified opposition research paid for by Hillary Clinton and used it to spy on Donald Trump. So the claim that Hillary was going to smear Trump as possibly being an agent of Russia seems like that's exactly what played out. Carter Page did work for the CIA at one point. In fact, this was one of the things that was admitted. Kevin Kleinsmith, the FBI lawyer that pled guilty to fabricating evidence, what he fabricated evidence about was that Carter Page worked with the CIA in the past. The FBI reached out to the CIA and says, is it true that Carter Page worked with you to help lock up corrupt Russians? And the CIA said, yes, Carter Page did work as an asset for us to help lock up Russians. And Kevin Kleinsmith of the FBI, in order to spy on Trump's campaign, changed that evidence to say, no, he never did work for the CIA. So yes, Rational, it's true that he worked with the CIA. So we see the timeline adding up. At the exact same time that the FBI is learning that Russians are claiming that Hillary Clinton's going to falsely try to smear Trump as a Russian asset, the agent that she's paying, Christopher Steele, immediately starts doing just that. Now you might say, but maybe Trump was a Russian asset. We've proven that the Steele dossier was not true in its claims about Carter Page and the other claims that it had about Trump being a Russian asset. Mueller definitively proved that. So is it a coincidence that the exact same time that Russia is saying that our FBI is learning, through espionage, they're learning that Russians are privately saying, oh my God, Hillary Clinton's going to smear Trump as a Russian asset. All of a sudden, the FBI then gets contacted by Hillary Clinton's agent she's paying and says, hey, by the way, Trump's a Russian asset. Now, if you were the FBI, wouldn't this give you pause? You'd be like, whoa. First off, we just heard that this is exactly what Hillary Clinton was going to do. She was going to distract us from the investigation on her server and attempt to use this to smear Donald Trump. And now this is exactly what's happening. So wouldn't that cause you pause and say, we better make sure this information is verified before we proceed to spy on Carter Page and the Trump campaign? They did the exact opposite. They chose to not verify the information. Now, the story we learned from earlier this week is the FBI and James Comey, before they spied on Carter Page, they used this Steele dossier, who they knew were being paid by Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele. They knew that Steele's primary subsource was a man by the name of Igor Danchenko. They knew that the FBI was investing Danchenko from back in 2009 as being, are you ready for this, a national security risk to the United States and a Russian spy. Now, let's briefly look at this, what I just told you in context. You're the FBI. You're investigating Hillary Clinton for her private server. You receive information from Russians that Hillary Clinton is going to try to smear Trump as colluding with Russia. Around the same time, an agent you know, a foreign spy you know is being paid by Hillary Clinton, approaches you and says, oh, guess what? Trump's an agent of Russia. And here's how I know. This guy, Igor Danchenko, told me. You look at Igor Danchenko and you know that he is someone that your own agency, the FBI, says is a national security risk to the United States. And yet, the FBI, knowing all of this, what did they do? They accepted Danchenko. They knew that Russians were saying that Hillary was going to smear Trump as colluding with Russia, yet instead of double-checking this and verifying the information, they accepted Hillary Clinton's narrative unquestioningly. And they spied on Trump using unverified opposition research that was sourced from someone they believed to be a Kremlin spy that wanted to hurt the United States. Thank you, Callahan Auto. Thank you. Do you understand the implications of this? This is definitive proof that the left FBI, at least, and I know what Jake Tapper's going to say. I know what Anderson Cooper's going to say. I know what all the leftist apologists are going to say. They're going to say, well, but just because that's what Russia was saying doesn't mean it was true. I agree with that. But wouldn't this be, again, they took it seriously enough to address this to Barack Obama, the sitting president. If it was something that they didn't believe was the case, why would they ever approach the sitting president of the United States with it? Is the director of the CIA in the business of any time they hear something that they think is totally bogus, personally directing that to the president of the United States? And even still, wouldn't this be even more reason to double check everything and verify it before you spied on Trump? This is incredible. These two stories that have come up, the fact that the FBI knew that Steele's primary subsource was a Russian spy, or was at least being investigated as one, and that they were aware that that Russia was at least claiming Hillary Clinton was going to try to falsely smear Trump as a Russian operative, is unbelievable. It actually gets worse than that, though. So let's go back real quick. Now, what is the reasoning that this Ratcliffe memo gives that Hillary Clinton would do this? Well, we know one would be to take down Trump. Now remember, there was a book written, I can't remember the name of the book, but it alleges that that election night at Hillary Clinton's would-be celebration, her coronation, to finally become the president that she felt entitled to, but she lost. And allegedly she said, if Trump wins, we're all going to hang. And then, according to this book, they immediately that night concocted the idea to go after Trump as a Russian asset once he became president. Now we know that this was in the works even before that. And why? Well, let's read what it says. On September 7th, 2016, U.S. intelligence officials forwarded an investigative referral to James Comey. In other words, there were people working in the CIA or the FBI that got in touch with the director of the FBI and with Peter Strzok, you know, the person who had the insurance policy against Trump. And the referral, they wanted this investigated. And an investigative referral means they were suggesting that Comey and Strzok look into the following claim. Quote, U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's approval of a plan concerning U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections as a means of distracting the public from her use of a private mail server. In other words, intelligence officials in this country thought that this story was so credible that they sent it up to the highest level, the director of the FBI, James Comey, and Peter Strzok, saying, whoa, we think that you should look into that. We have evidence that Hillary Clinton is intentionally smearing Trump as an agent of Russia to distract from the investigation into our email server. Now, what happened with the investigation into the email server? According to IG Horowitz, who, remember, before he did an investigation into the Russia investigation, he actually did an inquiry into the Hillary investigation. And he ruled that there were many things that were against the book that the FBI did in their investigation of Hillary Clinton. In fact, he made the claim at the end of his report that he could not rule out that bias from agents like Peter Strzok led to him, quote, prioritizing the Russia investigation over the email investigation. Did you hear what I just said? Intelligence officials contacted Peter Strzok and James Comey and said, we have evidence that needs looking into that Hillary might be trying to smear Trump as a Russian agent in order to distract us from investigating her server. And the IG in an independent investigation ruled exactly that. that it appears as if the FBI prioritized the Russia investigation over Hillary's server. In other words, in every single instance, the FBI did exactly what Hillary Clinton wanted them to do. Oh, you're getting a high-pitched whistle? Is it still there? Let me know. That's unbelievable. So look at all the discrepancies we see with the FBI. For example, IG Horowitz showed 17 times that the FBI broke protocol and lied or went against policy in other way in order to get a wiretap to spy on Trump's campaign. Definitive, proven. We know that the same IG says that he can't rule out that bias led to the FBI prioritizing the Russia investigation over the email investigation. We know from the Mueller report that the allegations made in the Steele dossier that Trump was a Russian spy or was working with Russia or Carter Page was working with Russians was not true. That this was disinformation. We know that that disinformation came from a Kremlin source, Igor Danchenko. We know that the FBI knew or suspected Igor Danchenko of being a Kremlin spy that sought to damage U.S. national security. We know that the FBI knew or were taking serious that Hillary Clinton was starting a plan to falsely smear Trump as a Russian asset to distract from her own crimes. And yet, every single time the FBI went, they did the bidding of Hillary Clinton, they were successfully distracted from her email, they successfully smeared Trump as an agent of Putin, they worked with the Russian spy that they accused of harming national security, they lied 17 times to be able to continue to spy on Trump. Now it's coming out, by the way, that other intel officials claimed, remember when we heard 17 intel officials, 17 intel agencies said that the Russians were working on behalf of Trump. We now know that that wasn't true. That was actually just 4 people that were handpicked by Brennan that came to that conclusion. There were other competing ideas that were censored by Brennan from intel officials that said, actually, it looks as if Russia wants Hillary to win. Because Hillary was known to them. And Putin had a relationship with Hillary. Remember, during the Uranium One scandal, Putin met in person with Bill Clinton. 2 weeks after that personal meeting with Bill Clinton was paid $500,000 from a Russian state-owned bank. So why would Russia want an unknown like Donald Trump when they already had a cozy relationship and were giving money personally to people like Clinton and her husband? On Periscope, you can see in the chat there, a person named Colby Waltz is trying to deflect and saying, Trump never lies? What is the relevance of that question? Colby Waltz would probably be the type of person who would be the first people freaking out if Donald Trump lied and used spies from China to allege that Joe Biden was a Chinese spy and spied on him for 4 years and launched an investigation into him. It's not just a lie. It's the FBI being used as a weapon from a sitting president, Barack Obama, to help his political partner, Hillary Clinton, from his own party, and to destroy his political adversary in Donald Trump. This isn't a lie. As bad as the lie, if you like your doctor, you can keep it. This is so far beyond that. Remember, let's look at this in context. We set up Watergate as the premier political scandal. What was Watergate? 2 bumbling oafs rifling through a hotel looking for documents against Nixon's opponent. We say that was a massive political scandal. Imagine if instead of that, Nixon had used the entirety of the FBI instead of 2 bumbling fools. That's what Barack Obama did. That's what James Comey did. Putin and Trump are good friends. Do you see? Trump won't release his taxes. This is exactly what you'll see, a stereotypical person from the left. We have definitive proof that the FBI was used by Barack Obama as a weapon against Donald Trump. This is a coup against the sitting president. And the deflection will be, sometimes Trump lies, I want to see it's in his tax returns. Isn't it true that Trump was friendly with Putin? Yes, Dan, that's exactly what happened. Russia was interfering in the election for the Democrats. Igor Danchenko, the Kremlin official that was under investigation by the FBI as being a Kremlin spy who was damaging U.S. national security, interfered directly with the DNC and Hillary Clinton to damage Donald Trump. The FBI uncritically took this information. They knew that Hillary Clinton was falsely trying to smear Trump. They knew that Igor Danchenko, the person giving this information, was someone who wanted to harm the United States, and yet they took that information, never bothered to verify it, and spied on Donald Trump. I heard that Biden's now refusing previous... Yeah. Let's check the chat here. I don't know what that high-pitched sound would be. So you can see from people like Colby Waltz, sometimes I think these leftists are actually trolls that are actually right-wing trolls because they make my job so easy. Trump, all caps, Trump had Kremlin by his side and Manafort both arrested. Yes, you mean to tell me the same corrupt FBI that I just showed you was corrupt and engaged in a coup arrested Paul Manafort for failing to register as a foreign lobbyist in 2013 when he was working at the behest of pro-Russian Ukrainian officials to influence people like Hillary Clinton with Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, John Podesta? Yeah, what does that have to do with Trump again? So because Paul Manafort was working with Hillary Clinton's campaign manager and didn't properly lobby or register as a foreign lobbyist, that somehow proves that Trump is an ally of Putin? This is so nonsensical. Everyone who's worked with Trump has damn near been jailed. Yeah, that's not true. Total lie. And again, we're literally talking about the corruption of the FBI. And then the defense of the corruption in the FBI is, so the allegation here is the FBI basically was working with Hillary Clinton to allow her to get away with crimes and to go after Donald Trump. And the defense of that is, yeah, but they arrested people connected to Trump. That would be like saying, here's a crooked cop that's taking bribes. Oh, but look, he arrested people, so... What does that have to do with anything? If they're crooked, then the arrests that they made have no proof of anything. Nor were any of those arrests had anything to do with Trump illegally colluding with Russia. So yeah, that's what we learned today. Now, I'm done dealing with this troll, Colby Waltz. He has nothing to say. But I do think that's one of the weak points I have. I do try to address people, particularly that disagree with me in the chat. But you can see for yourself the absurdity of the people. Everyone connected to Trump's a criminal, so it doesn't matter if the FBI was corrupt when they locked them up. Got it. Rational says, Flynn was indicted for the crime of not committing a crime, then not lying about not committing a crime. It makes the other arrests a little suspect. Exactly. For example, with Manafort, which was directly addressed here, Manafort, it says, worked with Group A and Group B in failing to register as a foreign lobbyist. Group A was Mercury LLC, which is a lobbying firm that works with Republicans. Group B was the Podesta Group, the group created by Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, John Podesta. So John Podesta's group and Paul Manafort group, so the campaign manager of both teams, back in 2013 failed to register as a foreign lobbyist, and both lobbied on the behest of oligarchs in Ukraine that were pro-Russian. Manafort got arrested. He's connected to Trump. Podesta is connected to Hillary. He was allowed to retroactively file paperwork for the exact same crime. But we have to believe, the fact that Manafort got arrested proves... For a crime he committed in 2013 proves that Trump's guilty of something in 2016. Yes, Colby, I'm well aware of George Papadopoulos. I've spent hours upon hours talking about his story here. Also a garbage charge. George Papadopoulos didn't get a charge for doing anything illegal with Russia. He allegedly lied to the FBI. But it could be very similar to the Flynn case where he actually didn't lie. Even if he did, what does that prove about committing crimes with Russia? For example, we know that Brennan, Clapper, Hillary, Mills, Abedin all lied to the FBI or to Congress. Mills and Abedin, for example, said that they didn't know anything about Hillary's private server until after her tenure as Secretary of State. However, released emails showed that they were talking about her private server way back in 2009. That's a lie. They lied to the FBI about material facts of the investigation they were withholding. which was into Hillary Clinton's server. They didn't get locked up. Brennan lied. Clapper lied, where he said that the NSA doesn't knowingly collect data on Americans. That was a lie. He's not locked up. So when it's just nonsense. No, Colby, there was no proof that Papadopoulos did anything illegal. In fact, we now know that Papadopoulos was in fact set up. The allegation was that George Papadopoulos met with a Maltese professor named Joseph Mifsud. Joseph Mifsud allegedly was a Russian spy who told Papadopoulos, I want to set you up in a meeting with a Russian that has information on Hillary Clinton. Papadopoulos talked to that Russian, and the Russian said, we have emails of dirt on Hillary Clinton. Papadopoulos went back to Trump's campaign and said, should we proceed to try to get this dirt? It is on record that Trump's campaign said, no, we shouldn't try to get this dirt. Then Papadopoulos got drunk and talked to Hillary Clinton ally Alexander Downer, an Australian diplomat, and said, I heard that Russians have dirt on Hillary Clinton. That's not a crime. However, even if it was, Joseph Mifsud is the Russian spy at the center of this. Bob Mueller and the FBI interviewed Joseph Mifsud. Now, the FBI alleged that Joseph Mifsud was a spy working for the Kremlin that set up a Trump campaign associate in order to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. The FBI admits that Joseph Mifsud lied to them 3 times in their interview. Yet for some reason, the FBI or Bob Mueller neglected to charge Joseph Mifsud, the spy at the center of this ring of supposedly hacking Hillary Clinton. Why is that? Because Joseph Mifsud wasn't a Russian spy. He was working for the UK government, just like Stefan Halper and Azra Turk that tried to set up George Papadopoulos. So, just to reiterate this story, and then I do have to go. The FBI and Brennan were aware that Russia thought that Hillary Clinton was going to falsely smear Trump as colluding with Russia. They took those allegations so seriously that they directly informed Barack Obama, and that other agents separately in early September emailed or made aware to James Comey and Peter Strzok that they thought it was worth referring an investigation as to whether or not it was true that Hillary Clinton was falsely smearing Trump. Despite all of this, and despite the fact that the FBI knew that the primary subsource for their reason for a FISA warrant, Igor Danchenko, was under investigation by the FBI for being a Kremlin spy who was trying to damage U.S. national security. Despite all of that, they knew that it was Hillary Clinton just smearing Trump. They knew that the person they were talking with, that they didn't verify the information, was a Russian spy. Despite all of that, they happily took that information, they spied on Donald Trump, they started a 4-year investigation. That is incredible. It's incredible. This is a coup. And remember, and as I'll talk about in Let's Be Frank's show tonight, this coup doesn't just implicate the FBI and the CIA. What about all the media that have covered for it? What about all the Democrats that had access to this information and covered for it? What about people like Christopher Wray, who's now in charge of the FBI, that refused to release this information? When Christopher Wray says, I don't see evidence of voter fraud, despite the fact that we can see the actual videos of it online and see the actual arrest of people that have been arrested of voter fraud. When Christopher Wray says, I don't see a problem with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, it's white supremacists. Why would we believe anything he said when him and his agency has been fighting so hard to keep these documents from being revealed to the American people? Where were the whistleblowers inside the FBI? We keep hearing, oh, it was just, it was incompetence or corruption by the people at the top of the FBI. But the day-to-day workers in the FBI, they're good. Why didn't any of them speak up then? That's right, Obama was at the center of the coup. Absolutely. And these documents, again, it shows that Obama was specifically briefed by John Brennan on this. Everything that these agencies tell, this implicated, again, remember, thousands of intel officials signed on to saying, Bill Barr must go. Barr investigating the FBI is corrupt. This isn't just 1 or 2 bag eggs. It's the whole system. I was saying months ago, 10, 12 months ago, completely disband the FBI immediately. They're beyond saving. That's it. Disband the CIA, disband the FBI immediately. Fire Christopher Wray. Now, lastly, I will tell you, thank you. I appreciate it, Rational. So I will be on my friend Let's Be Frank show at 10 p.m. As far as the debate, I will probably not watch it tonight because I'll be preparing to do my friend's show. That's going to be on his YouTube show. It's just Let's Be Frank, spelled as it sounds. And then I will watch the debate tomorrow, probably live for the first time, and I'll be able to stop it and do commentary. If you want to watch the debate, you could go to my friend Drone Tech's channel on DLive and watch the debate there tonight, so you don't give some stooges like, you know, CNN or someone the views. So yeah, I mean, this is a coup, and I understand that people think, why is this important? It seems complicated. It's not complicated when you get to the bare bones of it. There's a lot of names, but it was Obama and Hillary concocting a plan to spy on Trump before the election, to deflect from Hillary's obvious crimes with her private server, deleted subpoena emails, lying to the FBI, etc. And then after Trump's presidency, they continued this investigation to impede Trump from being able to investigate their crimes. That's what this was about. Very simple. The same agencies that are doing that, institutions such as the media, the FBI, the CIA, are continuing that coup. And that's why we shouldn't trust anything they say. It's that simple. So, all right. Thanks so much, everyone. I really appreciate you tuning in. Again, 10 p.m. I'll be on Let's Be Frank's channel. So thank you all so much. You've all been a great audience, even those that disagree with me. I really appreciate it. And as always, have a good one.